session number 4. I hope all of you can hear my voice. So we use these words to show a kind of a situation where there are two events. The second event depends upon the first event. It's like if A happens, then B will happen. Or only when A happens, B will happen. Or unless A happens, B will not happen. They are all used in different situations, like while to show a kind of a comparison or two things happening at the same time. Far too means beyond your expectations. Hardly means rarely. Not quite, not up to the level you expect. At odds, a difference in opinion. As no surprise means there is no surprise. Later is after a brief gap in time. Let alone is a contrast. At long last means finally. Mistook for when you mistake someone for someone else or something for something else. Furthermore is to add on. So as to means in order to. No bearing on means no relationship whatsoever. In that means in a given situation. Given means in a particular situation. Generally is like what a person will normally or generally do. And not usual is like going in the opposite way, which is the opposite of usual. So we start with the first question. And, what answer would you all get? Could all of you type your answers? I have received a couple of answers from the participants. To call the names of the participants, I have received answers from Ravi, Kushal, Sanjina, Birat, Pushkar, Janaki, Diksha, Riza, Kemraj, Prabhat, Sritika, and Pratiraksha. So the right answer is fecklessness, and the reason for that is we are talking about the governor as anything but ineffective, which basically means. So could somebody tell me today is the fourth class or the fifth class? I got a message that we have covered this in the last class. So did we, Ravi, cover the class? I think we canceled the class. Am I right? Yeah, that's the reason. So some of these questions we may have done. We have not discussed all the questions, isn't it? Birat, you confirm that, right? Birat, I remember, was there in the last class. Acha, we finished the 8 questions. Okay, so let's not discuss the 8 questions. That's fine. We can save time. But yes, fecklessness is the answer because anything but ineffective means effective, and now we have however, so we need the opposite of effective, which is ineffective. And the synonym of ineffective is fecklessness. So we have finished the first 8 questions. We will directly go to number 9. There is no number 9, so we have covered these 8 questions. We will now go to the first question of SC, page 82, where we discuss equivalence. So can all of you type two options which you feel will be the right answer here? I'm getting a lot of B and C, right? Riza, you're sending direct messages. Could you change your settings, please? So the right answer is B and C. It's because we are talking of a kind of a prediction. As all of you can see, they had predicted it. But it cannot be lucky, which is the other pair. The reason is it was a long standing strategy. So if it is a long standing strategy, that means it cannot be lucky. It should be some kind of a positive quality that they have, which means they can predict. And that's the reason it will be foresighted, like a predictive quality, prescient and not fortuitous and serendipitous. Popular does not have a pair and lucrative does not have a pair. So yes, all of you are right. B and C is the right answer. We move to the second question of this section. Could all of you type your answers? I've received E and F. Makes sense because we are talking of imperfections, as all of you can see here. That's a clue word. Although there is absence of imperfections, but that's only in the machine produced goods. We are talking of hand produced goods, and when you compare the hand produced goods with the machine produced goods, then obviously the hand produced goods do have some kind of mistakes, and because of the mistakes, they are back in demand. So we need two words for some kind of a mistake or an error, which is why blemishes and defects will fit in. The other pair is advantages and benefits, but that will not be a pair. We are not looking for a positive pair. Revival does not have a pair. Pretension does not have a pair. We will move to the next question. What option will you all select? All right, so you all have got C and D, kindred and affiliated. Yes, that's the right pair. We are talking about two professions that belong to the same association. So they belong to the same group, which is why they are similar or affiliated to each other. Positive words. And not commensurate and proportionate, which is the other pair, because we are not talking about something that can be measured in a mathematical way. Imperative does not have a pair. Voluntary does not have a pair. So good job, those of you who got C and D. Kindred and affiliated is the right answer. Once again, the reason is they belong to the same association, which means the two professions of nursing and occupational therapy belong to same group, so they are like related related professions, and that's the reason we are going for kindred and affiliated, two positive words. The next question, what answer will you select? I've received two different answers. Birat has gone for C and F, Pratiraksha has gone for A and B. Well, the right answer is yeah, the party is united. So what we are looking for is two positive words. And that's the reason the answer would be rallying behind and coalescing together. Identify the whole parties together because everybody has, I mean, the mayor has promised to raise a substantial amount of money. That's the clue part. If the mayor of a city has already promised to raise a substantial amount of money, that can only mean one thing. And you can see the candidate is a pretty average candidate, moderate, is not a very popular candidate. So moderate would mean average kind of a candidate. If the candidate is an average candidate, then how is the mayor so sure to raise a substantial amount of money? That can only mean the party is united. So they will come together to support the candidate. I beg your pardon. So they will come together to support the candidate. And if they will come together, the answer would be rallying behind and coalescing. The other pair is mortified and embarrassed, which is a negative pair. We are not looking for a negative pair here. Incensed means angry, does not have a pair. Undecided does not have a pair. So once again, the right answer, rallying behind and coalescing, which means coming together or supporting each other. We move to question number 5. What answer would you all suggest? You can type your answers, all of you. So I can see that most of you have gone for 80, iconoclastic and heterodox. That's the right answer, by the way. Good job. It's quite simple. We are talking of individuals who are going against the trends. And if they go against the trend, that means they are like rebel. So what we need is the word for a rebel. Or people who have a rebellious kind of a thought process. So as a thinker, they are the rebels, and that's the reason we go for iconoclastic and heterodox. People who go opposite of majority. The other pair we have is doctrinaire and dogmatic, which is slightly like dominating. And we are not looking for dominating. Integrative and synthesizing is another pair, but we are not talking about integrative or synthesizing. So out of all the pairs, the right pair is iconoclastic and heterodox. All of you who've selected A and D, well done. A and D is the right answer. These are the word meanings, by the way. So rebellious is not positive or negative. You cannot say iconoclastic is positive or heterodox is positive. But doctrinaire and dogmatic is definitely negative. And here you can say something like a neutral pair. So to go opposite of majority, and that's the reason A and D will fit in. We will move to question number 6. What answer will you suggest, all of you? So we have a couple of pairs here, and one pair is obviously ubiquitous and omnipresent. The other pair is sporadic and scanty. Invaluable does not have a pair, and questionable does not have a pair. But then the question says just about any film can get an advance. So if you talk about any film can get an advance, that means we are talking of something which has become very common. So the two words which will fit in here would be ubiquitous and omnipresent, not sporadic and scanty. Easy question. We move to question 7. What answer will you all suggest? So some of you have gone for BD, some of you have gone for ENF. The right answer is yeah, only finite possibilities are there, which is like a severe problem. So when you say only a finite number of possibilities, which means it's a severe problem. And that's the reason the answer will be acute and severe, not beneficial and productive, which is a positive pair. We do not need a positive pair. We need a negative pair to describe the problem which has become severe and acute. Meager does not have a pair. Agreeable does not have a pair. So yes, those of you who have got BD, well done. BD is the right answer. What answer will you select here? All of you type your answers. You have received C and D, which is the right answer. Prolix and long-winded. The reason is very simple. The author is not resisting the temptation to finish off a chapter, section, or even a paragraph with unnecessary flourish. That means the author is writing in a lengthy way, and you can see it's already 450 pages long. So that's another clue that it has already become quite lengthy, and the author does not resist the temptation. So when you read does not resist the temptation, that means the author is falling into the temptation. And to fall into the temptation would mean to write lengthy. So we need two words for lengthy, and the two words for lengthy are prolix and long-winded, not educational and instructive, which is the other pair. We are not talking of instructive and educational, neither are we talking of complex, which does not have a pair, and explicit does not have a pair. So the right pair is prolix and long-winded. We move to the next question, and what option will you select? Yes, B, unexpected, as all of you have written it correctly, because no surprise. And then we have the contrast on the other hand. So what we need is the opposite of no surprise, and the opposite of no surprise is surprise. So we need a word for surprise, which is why unexpected. Good job, all of you. Did anybody thought why not confusing? Is there anyone who thought why the answer is not confusing? Anybody? No? So I'll just tell you the code, the character of the code, Virat, cannot be confusing. Remember, we are talking about the character of the code. If you unmute your microphone, I can give you an example. Could you unmute your microphone, Virat? Okay, okay. I'm like the example I have is if you go to another planet, they may have a different set of driving traffic lights. So the code can change and the code can often be a surprise, but the code cannot be confusing. Like, human beings are planning to relocate to Mars. So maybe the traffic colors would be different in Mars, not necessarily the same traffic colors we have all over the world. So when you have a people or a civilization living in another planet like Mars, there is no guarantee they will have the same color combination for traffic lights, isn't it? So when you go and drive in Mars, you will find a different set of color combination that will come as a surprise to you. But you will be confused, but the color code cannot be confusing. The color code is given to reduce the confusion. I hope you got the example, Birat and everybody. So we move to the next one then. What combination? All of you type. Yes, indeed. What answer did you all select? A and D. Reverence for and fastidiousness is the right combination. Well done, all of you. The reason is very simple. We are talking of someone who has a lot of respect for the task, isn't it? And when you have a lot of respect for the task, we need a positive word for that, which is why reverence for means respect. And you can see for the second blank, we have somebody is going into the minute details. So when somebody goes into the minute details, that is also something positive, which is why the answer will be fastidiousness, perfectionism. So yes, that is the right combination. Well done, all of you. Could all of you type your answer of this question? The right answer is yes, deceptive and dissimilar. The reason is very simple. We are talking of candidates who are different. As you can see, the advertisement is trying to hide their differences. So that automatically means the candidates are different from each other. So if the candidates are different, we go for dissimilar in the second blank. And what kind of an advertising is it? It is a deceptive or a fake advertising. It's because it is trying to hide the differences by smoke screens. Advertising cannot be argumentative. There is no clue for polemical, and we do not use it for an advertising. Either it is a genuine advertising or it is a fake advertising. And here it is a fake advertising. It is hiding the differences. So fake, we have a clue for that. For polemical, which is argumentative, we do not have any clues. LB, are you clear? We do
Yes,
not
sir.
go with assumptions. We go with clues,
Okay,
isn't
sir.
it?
Yes, sir.
That's the reason.
Thank you, sir.
My pleasure. Again, effective. If you are a political candidate, for you it will be effective. But we are looking from the majority people. Majority people will say it is a fake advertising, so it cannot be effective from the majority perspective. We are looking at the general perspective. So if you look at the general perspective, it is a fake advertising. No, vocal doesn't always mean frank. Vocal means to be clear. All right, then we move to question number 4. Could all of you type your answers? All right, so we have CEH, which is the right combination. We are talking about how the nation's growth has happened. And you can see it has happened because of invention. That means we need a positive word come through. And when you talk about the government's role should be to promote research, not restrict or exaggerate. So the answer is support. And then the third one is unless you can protect the original idea, nobody will come up with any kind of invention. So protect, not evaluate or spread. Easy question. Again, why will you spread it? It is the condition. Unless you can protect it, people will not come up with any kind of a new idea or invention. You have to go with the sentence pattern, LB. What is the condition for coming up with the invention? Can you not detect the tone of this sentence, LB?
Yes, sir. Got it. Got it, sir.
Okay. All right. So we will move to question 5. What combination will you get? We don't go with what seems okay. We go with clues and strategies, Sam. There is no clue for disseminate. We cannot choose disseminate. We are now on question number 5. What combination will you get? AFH is the right combination, unless it is. See, again, it is the condition, unless a good reason for doubt. So if you have a reason for doubt, you will stop it. But if you have no reason for doubt, you will pass it. So that's why you will presume it is verifiable for the first blank. And for the second blank, no incentive exists to expend effort dash the signs of an erroneous patent. If the patent is an erroneous patent, you will obviously dismiss it. So we need a negative word, and that is not corroborate or advance. These are positive words. So debunk for the second blank because of erroneous patent. And if there is no incentive, so majority of the you know stream of dash devices will continue to yield occasional patent, which means majority of the devices will be bogus or fake, which is why H. That's right. So AFH is the right combination, not CFH, I think, which some of you have. CFI, no. AFH is the right combination. Virat, if you still have a doubt, you may ask. All right, then we move to question number 6. We need a pair of answers. What pair will you select? All of you type. AF, yes, exacting and meticulous is the right pair. Good job, all of you. Why? Because we have likewise. So somebody is a demanding reader, which means they are very perfectionist. And to be demanding is positive. You have high standards. So likewise, others will also be demanding of your writing. And two words for demanding would be exacting and meticulous. That's right. Which is positive, not acerbic and harsh. That's negative. We are not looking for a negative pair. Copious is excess, does not have a pair. Respectful does not have a pair. And because we are looking for a positive pair and something which means to be exact, so we go for exacting and meticulous. Two words which are synonyms of demanding or like a perfectionist. So once again, an easy question. We will move to question number 7. What answer will you all get? Frugality and thrift. Yes, Khemraj and Shritika, good job. We are talking of frugality and thrift because she is not miserly, but maybe she tries to spend in a practical way. She does not like to waste money because she is always ready to assist those who are in need. That's the reason we are looking for something positive here and not a stinginess which is negative or you know and it doesn't have a pair. Diffidence does not have a pair. Illiberality, intolerance. So in a way, there is one pair, and it's a negative pair. Sorry, it's a positive pair because she is not miserly. Rather, she is like a practical person. She doesn't like to waste money. So frugality, controlled spending, and thrift, controlled spending, are the two positive words, which all of you have got. Good job. Question number 8, what combination will you select? All of you can type. A and F. Sanjina, Sam. Who else has typed? Kemraj, Sabita. A and F. Ravi, Diksha. So why A and F? Let's find out. We are talking about a misconception by the novice writers that the more convoluted the structure, the more dash. So we need a word for convoluted, which is like complicated. And we have the word itself and another synonym involved. That's right. So we pick up the answer easily. Convoluted is the key word, yes. The more convoluted the structure, the more complicated the idea, and cannot be the other one, which is fanciful and inconsequential. Will not fit in here. Engage does not have a pair, essential does not have a pair. So, yes, by reading the sentence, you will know the more convoluted the structure, the more complicated the idea, and the two words for complicated are complicated and involved.
So, in this, mm, this needs a positive pair or negative pair. Like
I would say it's a neutral pair. I would not say
because,
positive or negative.
because they are novice writers, and I was
We
thinking of fanciful and inconsequential.
No, we are talking about a misconception held by the novice writers. So in a way, it is a wrong notion.
Mm-hmm.
But there is no. It's not like the more. You have to go with that logic. The more X, the more Y. The more convoluted does not mean the more fanciful. You cannot say the more convoluted is the structure, the more fanciful the idea. That does not fit in LB.
And that's why that might be considered as misconception.
No, that isn't the misconception. The misconception is convoluted does not mean complicated. People can write complicated sentences, but that does not mean the idea is complicated. We are not even talking about inconsequential and fanciful.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Hmm. All right. Oh, time for all of us to go for a break. So, guys, let's all go for a break now. After this, we have all reading portions. So, as you can see, these are all reading. I hope you guys have done the reading. So wonderful. We go for an early break, and I will be just going out for to buy something, important. So let's take a 20 minutes break, and we will start the session at what time is it? 7:20, 7:45 should be fine. It is going to be 7:25. So 25 plus 20 is 45. So all of you can enjoy early break. We resume at 7:45 sharp. I'll see you guys after the break. Please enjoy your break. Yeah, hi, good evening. Welcome back, all of you. The break time is over. We will resume with the reading section of today's homework discussion. We will be applying the strategies that we have already discussed, and this is the first passage, the first question. Could all of you type your answers of this question, please? What answer will you select? No, the answer is not A, Virat and LB, because there is no mention of decline in agriculture. This word is not mentioned in the passage. It says there was a sweeping change in agriculture. Change in agriculture does not mean decline in agriculture. But the other part is a massive shift from sheep farming to dairy farming. And why that was dangerous, because the sheep can eat it for months before showing any signs of illness. If cattle eat it, they will sicken and die. So that is the danger, that the sheep will eat it for months, nothing will happen. But if the cattle eat it, they will die quickly. So the answer is E. I hope all of you got it. Yes. Shritika, Sanjina, Janaki, Sam. Yeah, E is the right answer. Good job. So A is wrong because of the word decline. There is no mention of decline. B is wrong because it says took place in conditions that enabled the ragwort, but it always spreads faster. Nothing to do with the conditions. C says toxic compounds. That has nothing to do with the timing. See, the question was talking why was it ill time, and honey has got nothing to do with the timing. So the clue here is the word time, ill time, and the ill time is the farmers were shifting from sheep farming to dairy farming, and if the dairy eat it, they will die quickly. So the timing was a very wrong time to shift from sheep farming to dairy farming, and that's the reason the answer is echo. I hope you all got it. We will now move to the second question of this passage. What answer will you all select? Option B. The question is asking us about problems that ragwort poses to dairy farmers. So option A is wrong because the cows will die quickly. So when will they have the time to produce the milk? And option C is wrong because it says cattle are unable to differentiate, whereas in the passage it is written. No, it is written in the passage livestock generally avoid grazing. Livestock includes both cattle and sheep. So you cannot say cattle are unable to differentiate. The answer is only B. And that is given here, that they will do so once it displaces grass and clover in their pasture. So ragwort starts growing in the place of the grass and clover, which is why option B is matching. But as I said, the cows will die, so they will not have time to produce the milk. And why will the farmer sell that milk? So it isn't supported in the passage. Cattle are unable to differentiate. That is wrong because it has been mentioned in the passage. Livestock generally avoid. Livestock includes both cattle and sheep. So I hope all of you are clear why the answer is only B. If anyone still has a doubt, please ask. No doubts, everybody is clear. We will move to number 3 then, which is based on paradox. So as you know, paradox are the two opposite sides, and you need to find one option which will satisfy the two sides. So all of you can try this. Paradox means we need to select one option to satisfy the two opposite sides. Could all of you type your answer of this question? Echo is the right answer. Good job. And the reason is, I hope all of you identified the paradox that the rules are more strict for catering establishments. So the health inspection procedures for catering establishments are more strict. But the opposite thing, more food poisoning are reported from the catering establishments. So this is the paradox. How come if the rules are more strict for the catering establishments, then more food poisoning are reported from the catering establishment? And the reason is when you eat a meal in a restaurant, you may not have anybody to support you. Like if you're going alone and if you say the food is bad, there will not be anybody to support you. But when you eat a food prepared in a catering establishment, that is like a social function or official function. So if it is an official function, you know some of the people who are eating the same meal. If it is a social function, you also know some of the people who are eating the same meal. And if anybody falls ill, and you can find out if other people have also fallen ill, and then you can definitely put the blame on the caterer. So putting the blame on the caterer is very easy if the food is prepared by a catering establishment rather than if it is prepared by a restaurant. That's exactly what he is telling us. Option D is not telling us the reason why the paradox is existing. Option D is telling us the number of reported food poisoning cases is unrelated to whether the meal is served on the caterer or client's premises. So it does not matter where the food is served. What is important is how the food is prepared. And it is not giving us the reason to satisfy the paradox between the caterer and the restaurant. But E is giving us the reason which can satisfy the paradox between the restaurant and the caterer. That in a restaurant, you do not know other people who have eaten the same food, so you cannot put the blame. But in a caterer, you already know a group of people. So putting the blame on the caterer becomes easy and you have evidence. But in a restaurant, after eating the food, if you fall ill, you have no evidence to prove that the restaurant's food is bad. I hope all of you are clear. If anyone still has a doubt, please ask. No one has any doubt. All right, then we will move to the next question. We go to the African American passage. I hope you all have done it. So, what answer did you get? Yes, good job, Birat and Ravi. C is the right answer. We already know they are giving a large portion of their news item to sports. And the question is saying if the advertisers had started advertising more frequently, then obviously they will reduce their news items which have they have given more amount of news to sensationalism in sports. So they may reduce the sports coverage. Why will they give more attention to sports coverage? They are already giving more attention to sports and society news. So now, if the advertisers start advertising, they will not increase it further. They may reduce it, but not increase it. So give more attention is the wrong part of the sentence. Option B, till here is fine before the than that now that the advertisers have come, so their money will make the newspaper available at a lower price. Till here we can agree. But after that it says than the large national dailies. This part we cannot be 100% sure that they will have the budget to print their newspaper at a lesser cost than the large national daily. So once we eliminate A and B, the right answer is Charlie. African American newspapers would have experienced constraints or some kind of a domination on their content similar to those experienced by the large national dailies, which we already know that the advertisers' discrimination did free the African American press from the advertisers' domination. So when the advertisers were not coming to the African American newspapers, the African American newspapers had freedom. They did not have any domination. But now, if the advertisers start advertising, so then definitely they will feel the domination, which is what C is telling us, that they will experience some kind of a constraint on their content, which is decided by the advertiser, and something which is also experienced by the large national daily. So the answer of this question is only C. If anyone has a doubt, please ask. No doubts, we will move to the next question then. What answer did you all get? The answer is A, yes, it is directly written here in second line. Knowing that buyers of African American papers also bought the general circulation papers. So they assumed it will not increase their sales of products. That's why they were not advertising. It's a direct question and the direct answer. If anyone has a doubt, please ask. No one has a doubt. This is a type of CR. It's called must be true. So all of you can make a note. We call it as inference type or must be true type. So just 2 points that you have to keep in mind. The answer should be 100% true. We do not need new or extra information. So, what option will you select? All of you can type your answers. Yeah, that's right, Diksha and Kushal, Virat. Well done. Alpha is the right answer because that's 100% true. That because the people, there is a steady reduction in the total yearly consumption of energy from non-renewable source because of the tax. So if there is a reduction in the usage, then people will pay less tax. So there will be a steady decline in the yearly revenue generated by the energy tax in Fryland, which is why the right answer is A. If anyone has a doubt, please ask. Anyone has a doubt in any of the other combination options, you may ask. So I'll take a process of elimination route in case anybody has a doubt. Option B says there was a steady decline in the total amount of energy consumed. We cannot be 100% sure because if they are not using non-renewable, as we know from the passage, they may shift to renewable. So how can we say total amount of energy has gone down steadily? That's not 100% true. C is wrong because it says there was a steady increase in renewable. Again, that is not 100% true because if the people are not using non-renewable like petrol and diesel, they may use walking and cycling for commuting to office and for their daily requirement. So if there is a tax and they don't want to pay the tax and they may not use their vehicle which are run on petrol and diesel, but doesn't mean they will use renewable. They may use walking and cycling. If they use walking and cycling, that will not increase the use of renewable energy. They're using their own energy by walking and cycling. So not 100% true. D says the revenues generated will be used to promote the use of renewable energy. How can we be sure how the revenue will be used by the government? It depends upon the policy of the government. So that is not 100% true. And option E says the use of renewable energy in Fryland greatly increased relative to the use of non-renewable. And greatly increased means like more than. So if non-renewable is going down by 10%, renewable will go by more than 10%. So how can we be 100% sure? Because they may not be using renewable, they may use their own energy by walking and cycling. So you can eliminate BCD. The only option which is 100% true is that because they are using less as given in the question, so the revenue generated will be less. And this is what you have to identify must be true. So the option which is must be true is option A. And this is how we solve such questions. We will go to the Douglas Martinson passage. This passage is based on a simple logic which you can learn by doing this kind of a diagram, which I'll draw it here. So allow me 1 minute. Let me draw the diagram. So this diagram is telling us the cycle that Douglas Martinson had evaluated, that people expect because of global warming, the surface temperature should also be rising. But the surface temperature of water does not rise because of this cyclical relationship. That because of global warming, there is less sea ice. Because of less sea ice, there is less salt. If there is less salt, it will be less heavy. If the water is less heavy, it will less sink and stir up the turbid heat. And the slow rise of the deep water will maintain the surface water at a cool temperature. So this kind of a global warming is being offset by this kind of a cyclic reaction. And this theory was given by the scientist, oceanographer Douglas Martinson. And now I think all of you are ready to attempt this question. So we start with question number 7. Which of the following is true of the surface waters? Anyone who can tell me the answer? I don't know the answer to that question, Sam. This is a passage given to us. We assume it is true. I don't know whether it is real or not. C is the right answer. Yes. Kim has given the right answer. Birat has given the right answer. Well done. Because the thing is, A says they are more affected by annual fluctuation. There is no mention of annual fluctuation. B says they are less salty than they would if global warming. See, during global warming, they are less salty. So you have to look at the two sides, with global warming, without global warming. On the right hand side, if there is global warming, they are already less salty. So this side, it should be more salty without global warming, but it is written less salty. C is correct. It says more likely to sink and stir up deep water than during global warming, which is what we got to know, that during global warming, they sink and stir less. So on this side, without global warming, they are more likely to sink and stir up. So C is correct. D says they are able to offset some of the effects of global warming beyond Antarctic. We have no information of beyond Antarctic. We are only talking about Antarctic in the passage. So D is gone. E says they are less affected by the temperature of deep water than they would if atmospheric temperature were increasing. So if atmospheric temperature is increasing, means during global warming, they are less affected. So here it should be more affected, not less affected. And this is how, by process of elimination, you can see C, option Charlie, is the right answer.
I have a question, sir.
Yes, Sam.
So, according to Douglas Martinson's argument, what he says in the fifth last sentence, uh, therefore less likely to sink and stir up deep water, stored without, so it would rise to the surface at a slower rate. It says the deep water with all its stored heat will rise to the surface at a slower rate. According to this argument, the last option should be correct.
This
That's what
line
I
is,
think.
no, you have not read it properly, Sam. You're talking about this sentence, right?
Yeah, so I think what is happening is just opposite of what Martinson is arguing.
No, no, no. Sam.
Or
No, 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 Sam. You haven't read the question. The question is asking us about, I have done the highlight. It's asking us about surface water. The line you told me is about deep water.
but the option in E says less affected by temperatures of deep water. But this alone is true based on this fifth last line, which says the deep water with all its heat heat would rise to a slow rate. That means less affected. The surface water, they mean
Option
surface water are less
option
affected because of the
y-
slow rise of the deep water at a slow rate. So I don't know.
did you see the then and the two sides of then?
So you mean the after then they would be.
We are comparing the two sides of then. On this side, if atmospheric temperature is increasing, so when atmospheric temperature is increasing, they are less affected, should be on this side. That means without increase in atmospheric temperature, it should be more affected, not less affected. I hope all of you are clear. We are comparing the two sides. The right hand side is with global warming, left hand side is without global warming. So right hand side is with global warming, and with global warming they are less affected, the surface water. So with global warming, the surface water are less affected by the deep water. That means on this side of then, without global warming, they will be more affected. And here it is written less affected, which is why E is wrong. I hope you can try this again, Sam and everybody who did not get it. But it's quite simple. So you can draw the diagram yourself and understand the options with than in the middle and the right hand side and left hand side, and it will definitely make sense. All right, then let's go to question number 8. So now the question is asking us about deep water. That was about, previous question was about surface water. Now we are talking about deep water. What option will you select? All of you type. Good job, Khem, Virat, and Sobita. Yes, A is the right answer because they rise to the surface more quickly than during global warming. During global warming, they rise slowly. So without global warming, they will rise quickly. That's perfect. Option A is correct. But let us look at B. B says they store heat that will exacerbate the effects of increase, but it does not happen. We just now saw there is no increase in the surface temperature. C says they would be likely to be significantly warmed by an increase in atmospheric temperature. The deep water already have their stored heat. They are not warmed by the atmospheric temperature, not supported by the passage. Salty, it is the surface water which is salty, not the deep water. So D can also be eliminated. E says they are less likely to be stirred up when the surface waters are intensely salty than surface relatively unsalty. So when the surface waters are intensely salty, they will be more likely to be stirred up, not less likely to be stirred up. So you can see with intensely salty, the surface water will be heavy and the surface water will sink and stir up the deep water, not less likely. It should be more likely here. So again, E is also wrong. And now you can be 100% sure the right answer is A by process of elimination. I hope everybody is clear. If anyone has a doubt, please ask. No doubts. So the whole question, the two questions we discussed are based on that cyclical theory. So you can draw it yourself and try it. It isn't very difficult. Now the third and the last question, I guess, from this passage. So according to the passage, which of the following is true? about the sea ice that surrounds the Antarctic continent. What option will you select? I have received a couple of answers here, and Echo seems to be the right answer. Yes, good job, all of you. Those of you who've selected E. So we have answers from Diksha, Virat, Khem, Pratiriksha, Prabhat, Shritika, and Sam. Good job. The right answer is Echo, and you can do this by process of elimination. A says amount of sea ice has been declining. We do not have this information in the passage. B says most of the sea ice that forms in the winter remains intact in the summer. It is not supported by the passage. C says even small changes in the amount of sea ice dramatically affect, but we saw there is no dramatic effect by Douglas Martinson's theory. And D says changes in the amount of sea ice would significantly affect. Again, we saw it does not significantly affect because of this cyclical theory. So now you can be 100% sure the answer is E. Changes in the amount of sea ice affect the degree of saltiness. Yes. If there is more sea ice, there will be more salt. If there is less sea ice, there will be less salt. So that is 100% correct. The answer is E.
Excuse me.
Yes.
So I think this in sixth or seventh line it says true less sea ice would form in winter because global warming would cause temperatures to rise. So can we not infer from this sentence that the amount of sea ice that forms in the winter has been declining?
No, ice will be less if you compare between the summer and the winter, but that does not mean the sea ice has been declining.
Mm, yeah,
They
kind
are
of, but it's a bit
two
difficult to.
two different things altogether.
But it says here less sea ice would form in winter because of global warming. It's kind of similar to saying amount of sea ice that forms in winter has been declining.
You are not getting the point. Let me log back in and I'll explain it. Give me 2 minutes.
Okay.
But that's actually a good question, Sam. I'll come back to you. All of you, please wait. I will log back into my system because my Gmail got logged out. So, yeah, I'm not sharing my screen right now. I'll log back in and come back to all of you guys. Give me 2 minutes, all of you. Yes, I am logged back in now. We will go back to that question that we were discussing. So we are discussing the Douglas Martinson passage. We are in question number 3. Sam, you were on the microphone and you were telling me why the answer cannot be A because of the line which you picked up from the passage which says, which line were you talking about, Sam?
It was sixth or seventh line. It says true, less sea ice would form in the winter because global warming would cause temperatures to rise. However, Martinson asks.
Yeah. So when it says true, less sea ice would form in winter because global warming would cause temperature to rise. That's true. Less sea ice would form in winter because of global warming. Yeah. So it means if you compare the previous time of winter, the amount of sea ice, maybe 20 years ago and now. So maybe the sea ice that is forming now is less because of global warming. But to use the word declining, has been declining is like a continuous thing. We do not have that much of data in the passage to say that it has been declining.
Yeah, yeah. I fully agree, but there's no doubt E is the correct or most probable answer. But A also seems to be a bit like doubting, like kind of confusing.
Yeah, I do agree. I see your point now. That's a good point. That's a good question by you. It does mention less sea ice would form in winter because of global warming, which would cause the temperature to rise, which means if you compare the amount of sea ice, maybe 20 years ago, 30 years ago, now the sea ice is less. But the word declining means something happening consistently, and we do not have that much of data to support a amount of sea ice that forms in the winter has been declining. Yeah, doesn't get supported by the passage that it has been declining, but it is less for sure than the previous winters. That's 100% sure, but not it has been declining. We cannot go that. So in a way, the passage does not support that because the question is saying, according to the passage, which of the following is true? So maybe if E was not there, we could have gone for A. But because E is a definite true option, that the changes in the amount of sea ice that definitely affect the degree of saltiness. So because E is a definitely true as per the passage, so E is the right answer, not A.
Yes, I'm totally in agree with you, sir. That's a subtle difference.
Absolutely. I agree with you as well. Valid point, valid question from you, Sam. Now we go to the last passage of today's discussion, the quantum mechanics passage. I hope you all have done it. What option did you all get? Please type your answers, all of you. Declining, yeah, Birat. That's right. So passage does not support that. Decline or declining. Has been declining means continuously. We do not have that data. So now we are in the quantum mechanics passage. What option will you select? All of you type. Yeah, the answer is echo because the author is having a positive tone, as you can see. The author is saying quantum mechanics is highly successful theory, and if somebody now says that it is incomplete, then how will the author react? The author will say with a negative thought process that skepticism, not approval. Why will the author be surprised? Why will the author be indifferent, which means not care? And why will the author have apprehension, which has a like a negative tone? Apprehension means to have a negative thought process. The author will disagree, and skepticism basically means like that, disagree. So I hope all of you got it. Why the answer is E, because of the first line, which tells us the author is having a positive tone, and if anybody says it is incomplete, so the author will disagree with that, which is why skepticism. We move to question number 2 now. So what does trajectory mean as it is used in the passage? What option will you select? All of you type. Yes, the answer is course, because here trajectory is used as a path. As you can see, we are talking about the motion. We are talking about the motion, isn't it? Like here you can see the motion of a particle. And after that, we are talking about the where is that line 15? Yeah, a fully deterministic trajectory could be defined. So if you apply that inference logic, because we are talking about the motion of a particle and there is the mention of the word trajectory, that means it is talking about the path where the hidden parameters could be identified. So the word for a path is course, not a deviation or a impediment or a cessation or a occlude. So well done all of you who selected Charlie. These are the word meanings. A and B have a negative tone, deviation, impediment, and even D has a negative tone. Occlude also has a negative tone, but so you can do it by the tone. We are not looking for these negative tones like a deviation or a impediment like obstruction or a occlude, again obstruction like not to include, and cessation. But when you say course is like a neutral word. So you can do it also from the tone. We need a neutral word, and that's why course. So question 3, select the sentence in which the author demonstrates Einstein's objection to quantum mechanics. Which sentence will you select? Seven to 14, which is because of the probabilism. That's right. Because of the probabilism, Einstein was highly dissatisfied. So this is the sentence which needs to be highlighted. You can do that by right clicking it. Remember, we need to right click it. And once you right click it, it will get highlighted. So this is the sentence which should be highlighted, which gives us the probabilism nature of quantum mechanics as per Einstein's thought process. We go to question 4, which is a question asking us about, it can be inferred from the passage the author's conclusion Einstein's approach is erroneous might have to be modified. So why will we modify the author's expression where he says Einstein's approach is certainly erroneous? Why that needs to be modified? Anyone who got this answer? Yes, anybody who got this answer? Anyone? No, B is the right answer. Yes, Vivek is correct. Sam is correct. Some of his experiments do not disconfirm the hidden parameter theory. And do not disconfirm means they confirm the hidden parameter theory. So it's the style of writing. Do not disconfirm the hidden parameter theory means, and Einstein had identified the hidden parameter before his death. So how can the author then say that Einstein was certainly erroneous? That is wrong. And this is the reason why the author is wrong and author needs to modify his statement. You can say Einstein was strongly skeptical, but he never rejected the theory. And you cannot say he was totally wrong. Certainly, erroneous means totally wrong, but Einstein was not totally wrong. He was correct. He had identified the hidden parameters. And he said, till the time you do not identify the parameters, it is a probabilistic theory. Once you find the hidden parameter, then it will become a deterministic theory. So Einstein was not wrong, but the author has quickly come to that drastic conclusion that Einstein is certainly erroneous. And now the question says, the hypothetical question, that if the experiments mentioned in line number 18 to 20 had not supported traditional quantum mechanics, then which option will be the right answer? The experiments which were carried out on Einstein's ideas after his death. If these experiments had not supported, and it says most of these experiments support traditional quantum mechanics. So if most of these theories, most of these experiments had not supported traditional quantum mechanics, then which option will you select as the right answer? As the result, then what will be the result of the author? No, that is a very drastic answer, Birat. The answer is C. What was Einstein's death before his? What was Einstein's position before his death? He said it is in a probabilistic system, and once the hidden parameters are known, then it becomes a deterministic theory. So after his death, if most of his experiments do not support traditional quantum mechanics, that means you will go with what Einstein had said before his death. And what was his position? That a deterministic description of the motion of particle might still be considered possible. That was his position before his death. Yes. Virat, did you understand? If anyone has a doubt, please ask. It's a hypothetical question. It says if the experiments after his death, after Einstein's death, had not supported traditional quantum mechanics, then which of the following options will be correct or will be the result? So the result will be what Einstein told us. We will believe that a deterministic theory might be possible in the future, which is why D, which is why C, but not D, which is extreme. That quantum mechanics would cease to attract. How can we say that? Or look at Einstein, had he been alive, would have revised his approach. Why will he revise his approach when he is right? The author needs to revise his approach, not Einstein. B, hidden parameter theory would have been considered inaccurate. Why would it be inaccurate? when it is supporting, I mean, Einstein was supporting the hidden parameter theory, and so why will you say the hidden parameter is inaccurate? And yeah, D is far-fetched. It is illogical. How can it totally become seized? And he, Einstein, had he been alive, would have been abandoned. Why will he abandon? That is also extreme. Maybe he will like to know the hidden parameter. Why will he abandon his theory, his attempt? So you can do a bit of guessing and pick up the tone. C seems to be the right answer. So we have finished all the passages and we have already done inference, critical reasoning. That was meant for today. We have done paradox. So now we go to the last part of today's discussion. So far we have done strengthen, weaken, paradox, and inference. Four types of CR we have covered. Next class, I will do assumptions and evaluate. So please remember in class 5, we do assumption and evaluate together along with complete the argument. That will be class 5. In class 6, I will do boldface. This is as per the structure we follow in Jamboree. And that will be the end. So complete the argument we can do now. Yeah, let us do complete the argument. Then we will remain with only these three. All right, so let's do one more critical reasoning today, which is called complete the argument. And there is no strategy as such. I'll tell you what is the strategy. So all of you write. These questions are called complete. CR complete. They are all based on logical analysis. So what we need to do is select one option that will complete the argument. It could be strengthen, it could be weaken, it could be paradox. Select one option which completes the argument. All of you try this. It's pretty mathematical question. Yeah, good job, Bibek and Sritika and Sam. A is the right answer, and Khemraj. So you can do this by equation, like let the total job applicants be 10. Let's assume the total job applicants are 10 in number and the number of dishonest are 2/5, right? So 2/5 of 10 is 4. And how many are honest? That means 10 minus 4 will be 6 are honest. And the question is telling us that the survey may underestimate the proportion of job applicants who are dishonest. Underestimate means we need more people here. So where will these people come from? Obviously from the other category. That means some of the people who said they were honest were lying, which is what A is telling us. That in the survey, when you ask some people, they said they are honest, but actually they are dishonest. They should have been on this group, but they said honest. We put them incorrectly in this group. So that's how we satisfy the argument that some people who said on the survey to be honest were lying, and then it can complete the argument. Not B, some generally honest people might have claimed to be dishonest. If they are honest but they are saying they are dishonest, they are already here. But we want more people here, so that will not satisfy. C says some people who claim on the survey to be little dishonest may be very dishonest. Whether you are very dishonest or little dishonest, both are in the dishonest group. So that does not solve the question that we need more people here. D says some people who claim on the survey to be dishonest may be answering honestly. They are dishonest and they are answering honestly that they are dishonest, which means they are already here in the dishonest group. So that also does not satisfy our argument. E says some people who are not job applicants. If they are not job applicants, we are not talking about them. We are only talking about the 10 job applicants as per the question. So you can do process of elimination in case you are not sure, and you will definitely get A as the right answer. Yeah, that's right. Dishonest people said honest, so they are underestimated. That's the reason we have to pick up this option that some people who have said they are dishonest, some people who said they're honest were lying. I hope everybody is clear. It's a very easy question. So we have covered 5 types by now. 3 types are remaining, which we will do in the coming classes. Now we go to the last part of today's discussion, the vocab list discussion. Evaluate and assumption will be discussed in the next class. Today we discuss vocab list 5 and 6. And today also we did this family, lucky and unlucky family. So you can remember these words. Fortuitous, like a fortune, opportunity, profit, serendipity, and the opposite, despair, hapless, wretched, are all the words for unlucky. So lucky and unlucky, very easy to remember. Pain and suffering, like a common man faces some problem, adverse conditions, mishappening, trial, tribulation. These are all affliction, difficult situations. When you remember the past, that is when you remember the olden days, what we call evocative hindsight, nostalgia, retrospect. When you go back in time, that is retrospect. And wistful, you remember the past, you wish the olden days were back. So these are the words for remembering the past. Excessive of anything is bad, like chauvinism, pride in being a man, fanaticism in some religious ideology, ideologue, jingoism, zealot. So excess of anything is bad. Very less when people do not enjoy some movie or some performance, they leave. So we have exiguous, meager, puny, scanty, skimpy, spare, and sparse. Routine behavior, the things we do on a daily basis, what we call obtain and want. Wealthy, what we call affluent, opulent. Increase, these are the words: accretion, aggrandize, augment, balloon, dilate, enhance, proliferate, and wax. These are all the words for mounting, increase. When we combine certain things like we do in chemistry, amalgamation, coalition, meld, synthesis, to reduce or restrict, that's when we do the word constricted, contract, curtail, dwindle, flag, wane. Unwillingly to spend is when we use the word, somebody is unwilling to spend, like close fisted, tight fisted, what we call miserly, niggardly, parsimonious, stingy. So these are all negative. But when someone does a controlled kind of spending is what we call positive words: frugal, thrift, husbandry, and economical. Lessen in intensity, like the rain has reduced, so you can say the rain has abated, ebb, recede, and subside. Relevant, when you use the correct tool, like this is a jack to use for changing the tire. So that's opposite, apposite, apropos, germane, pertinent. Excess is when we use the word abound, barrage, bounteous, copious, glut, inundate, myriad, plethora, profuse, prolific, surfeit, steeped, surged, and teeming. Ambi means double, so ambivalent, ambiguous, equivocal. It means when you are confused between two sides. Beg your pardon. When you explain something in detail, be labor. When you do not explain, speak less, understatement. Some people very good in their game, like Roger Federer in grass court once upon a time, Michael Phelps in swimming, or Serena Williams in ladies tournaments. So that's when you know some people are very good in their game, difficult to defeat them, indomitable, invincible, impervious. Shortage or a lack is when we have like less opportunities, like in some of the universities in Asian countries, Southeast Asian countries, Nepal, India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Myanmar. I don't think Myanmar will be classified as Southeast Asia, but the Southeast Asian countries and some of the other countries in Africa, Asia, where there is a lack of opportunity for students to do research and kind of a PhD and a research, which is why the students go to universities in America, Australia, and Europe. So there is a shortage or a lack of opportunities for research, dearth, deficit, paucity, vacuous. Poor, when we use the word bankrupt, somebody is bankrupt, destitute, impecunious, having no money, impoverished, indigent, insolvent, penury. And the opposite, solvent, when you can solve your problems. This happens when you go to buy some costly items, or when you go to the branded items, exorbitant, gouging, prohibitive. Spend lavishly is when we use the word extravagance and prodigal, profligate, spendthrift, squander. So all of these are for words where we use someone is spending a lot of money. When you make up your mind, that is when you can give an absolute answer, or a categorical answer, or a emphatic answer. But when you are not sure, that is when you will give a contingent or a provisional or a qualified type of an answer, or a tentative kind of an answer, which is the opposite of certainty. Nervous and restive. This happens restless before an exam, when all of us feel, before giving an exam, we feel restive and skittish. So greed is when people love something in extra, maybe eating rice, avarice, covetous, cupidity, gluttony for food, rapacious, ravenous, voracious. For materialistic pleasures, mercenary. Noisy, caco and phon is the root word for sound. So opposite of symphony, cacophony, clamor. A lot of people are claiming clangor. In the day, din. There is a din during the daytime. Disco, when you go to a disco, there is a lot of noise. Raucous, vociferous, boisterous. Obstreperous has a negative tone, like a marketplace. Inaudible, when you cannot hear. Yeah, this is like symphony. When you listen to a symphony, you have euphony, melody, mellifluous, something pleasant. Supporter are your friends and enemies are your opponents, so you can remember them easily. Friends group and enemies group. All of these are for your friends group. All of these are for the enemy group. Again, when you go for a GRE, you have to plan in advance. So you can remember like a GRE, exam that you have to plan in advance, but this is like a you go out for a picnic with your friends, or a coffee get together, coffee or a movie. So they are not usually planned. Movie may be planned, but not the coffee or the let's put coffee date and GRE date. So GRE examination date you have to plan in advance, but for a coffee get together with your friend, you do not plan in advance. Suddenly it happens. Extra is when you are reading some extra material. Like some students ask me, shall we do Kaplan, Princeton, Manhattan? You can, but that is unnecessary. First, do the Jamboree material. Once you are done with the Jamboree material, maybe then you can go for the extra, like the Kaplan or Princeton or any other material you want to do. Barron's guidebook, anything. But first, cover the Jamboree vocab list and all the questions. We have a lot of questions in the portal, the practice test, the sectional test, and those are of real GRE. You can ask the students who just now gave their interview in Jamboree channel. So one student was asked, what is the difference between the Jamboree mock test and any other mock test? So he said, I took a Kaplan test, but the question pattern was different. So the student recently who got a 330 score, he gave the interview to one of my colleagues in Jamboree. And in the interview, he said, when I gave a Kaplan test, the question pattern was different. It was not of GRE level. So I could know the questions are not of that level. But when I gave the Jamboree, mock tests, I could know the questions are hard. And he says in the Jamboree test, my highest was 325. But in the final exam, he got 330. So this just proves the Jamboree tests are slightly difficult, which is better. You must practice in difficult conditions. So when you go to the final exam, you are more confident. So he says my highest was 325, but in my final exam I got 330. So these are the determination. If you make up your mind, I will cross 320, 330. Nobody can stop you. Dogged, endurance, immutable, indefatigable, perseverance, persistence, steadfast, and tenacious. Where you make up your mind that I am getting it and I will prove it to everybody. And I will be the happiest if each one of you does that. Make a resolution tonight itself. To object, this happens when two people do not agree with each other. One person says, I do not agree with you, defy, demur, dissent, and take issue with. When we create a story, sometimes we are late or something happens. We have to make up a story, concord, devise, formulate, conjure, like a magical way. Accept everything like a sheep. So when we have words like accede, acquiesce, amenable, assent, yield, succumb, comply, concede, conquer, pliant, relent. And docile and malleable means easy to control. To prove false, it is at a higher level. It is not like I object, it is like I can prove. So one scientist proving another scientist wrong, like a Tesla proving Einstein wrong, or a Newton proving some other scientist wrong with evidence. So this is at a higher level, what we call belie, debunk, expostulate, rebut, refute, and remonstrate. Cancel, when you cancel something, that is when we use the word renege, like you have to renegotiate. Repeal, like reappeal. Repudiate, like a pudding, you have to make the pudding again. Rescind, the contract has to be done again. Retract, revoke, and void. And annul and disavow and gainsay and null. Energizing, when you're feeling tired and you take a cup of coffee or tea or anything and you feel bouncing back. Galvanizing, rousing, invigorating, revitalizing. These are the words to bounce back. Stubborn is when you are not ready to change your opinion. Maybe the other person could be right. So when you refuse to be corrected, incorrigible. You refuse to be flexible, intractable. You refuse to be temporary. Your thoughts are permanent, intransigent. Perverse. Pertinacious, not tenacious. Tenacious is positive. Pertinacious is negative. So you should be careful of such words. They are commonly confusing words in the GRE. Like prude and prudent, they are both different. So when you read, you should know which word is in which family. They may look similar, but they are not similar. They may be opposite. Prudent is positive, prude is negative. Prude means you are acting like something you are not, sanctimonious. Whereas prudent is like wise. Tenacious is positive, you are determined. But pertinacious is negative, you are stubborn. So all of you put your mind to these commonly confusing GRE words. There are many such words. They look similar, but they are different from each other. When you do not follow the protocol, like you go to Japan, you got to follow the protocol. In Japan, they do not shake hands unless you are family. So you have to bow down to greet your friend. And when in Rome, do as the Romans do. There is a saying, when you do not follow, you are breaking the protocol. So these are the words: breach the protocol, flout, infraction, and transgress. But when you follow, abide and adhere. I think we are coming to an end. Famous person, eminent, luminary, preeminent, stature. Profitable in a monetary way, what we call remunerative, lucrative. Clothing, you have to memorize these two words. Anything to do with clothing, these are the two words you have to remember. One is raiment, the other is sartorial. Severe, acute problem, it could be a problem or a situation. So we use the word acute, austere. To approach something in a positive way is broach, in a negative way is accost. At the end of the day, everybody is coexisting, all the human beings in all the countries, contemporary, simultaneous. No, that is raiment, not garment. You can check the dictionary. I think there is a word for raiment. Urgent matter is when we use the word exigent, pressing. Yeah, raiment is like garment. Good observation, Sam. But it is a different word. Dressed in the raiment of the Victorian gentleman. So there is a sentence I'm reading. The scientists believe that robbers quickly stripped the dead queen of her raiment. No. There is another sentence. They saw the crowd dressed in the raiment of Victorian gentlemen. So raiment is a different word from garment, but it also means clothes. For urgent, we have exigent and pressing. Yeah, easy to remember. We are done for today. These links are not working for some reasons, I guess, but you already know today we finished class 4. You can go to class 5 in your verbal book and everything written in class 5.